Hello, welcome to the math revision video for grade 10 advance. Today we are revising module 11 polynomials. From this module we are going to revise one by one all the 7 lessons. The first lesson that we did was adding and subtracting polynomials. The second one was multiplying polynomials by binomial or monomial, and the third is multiplying polynomials. The fourth is special products. The fifth lesson that we did was using the distributive property. The sixth lesson is factoring quadratic trinomials, and the seventh lesson is factoring special products. Now this video is especially made so that you can revise module 11 polynomials and prepare for your upcoming midterm math exam for grade 10 advanced term 1. So let's get started with the video and see what questions are we solving today. Okay, so this is the first question that we are going to be solving today. This is from the first lesson in which you have learned two basic operations for the polynomials. The first operation that you have studied is addition and the second is subtraction. Now basically this question that you see here is on subtraction. As you can see, we have two trinomials that we are trying to subtract, and then you also have to give your final answer in standard form. So let me remind you, standard form for a polynomial is given in order of the decreasing power. So you are going to put the highest degree or the highest power term first, then slowly keep on reducing till you reach the constant or the number. Okay, now let's start with the subtraction. I'm going to use here horizontal method for subtracting these two trinomials or these two polynomials. So step one, we are going to open the brackets, and while we are going to open the brackets, we have to be very careful about the sign. Since the second polynomial is getting subtracted from the first one, when we open the brackets, each of the term inside is going to change sign. That's very important. So let's start this question by combining like terms for the first polynomial. Now h and minus 2h, these are like terms because they have the same variable h here. So just subtract. It's like 1h minus 2h, so it's going to give you minus h, and then the second term is minus h squared. Now I'm not putting the brackets because I'm trying to open the brackets and then combine my terms. Okay, let's come to the second trinomial. Here it has three terms, 1, 2, 3. While I'm going to open the bracket, a term which is having positive sign, we are going to make it negative. So this term becomes minus 5h squared. Minus 2 on opening the bracket because of the negative sign outside is going to become plus, and similarly this is going to be minus. Okay, so this is the simplified form after opening the brackets using the horizontal method. Now we are going to combine the like terms. So let's see what is the like term for minus h, which has the same variable and the same power. So power is nothing, means 1. So can you combine it with this one? Yes, we can. So minus h and minus 8h are going to come together, while these two terms are going to be combining together. So minus h square and minus 5h square. If you put it in your calculator, this is going to come out to be minus 6h square, and we just have the number 2 left, which is the constant. So I'm going to put it in the end. Okay, so let's do this. So minus 1h minus 8h. If we are going to combine these like terms, this is going to give me a minus 9h. Now, I want you to be very careful with your signs. If you look at this question in this way, it's minus 1 minus 8. So remember, the both signs are negative, so we'll get the negative sign. However, when we take 1 and 8, we are going to add it. That's why you get this minus 9h. Okay, next term is minus 6h squared plus 2. So this is your answer. But if you read the question properly, it asks you to give your answer in standard form. So let's do that. This first term is minus 9h. It has power 1. The second term is minus 6h squared. It has power 2. And this is just the number. So definitely I'm going to put the highest degree power minus 6h squared. Then the next one minus 9h, which has degree 1, and finally the constant, which has degree 0. So this is going to be your final answer, which is now in standard form. So this is is how we are going to solve a question if it comes on subtraction of two trinomials. Moving forward, I want you to try yourself this second question, which is on the same learning goal. You have to show your steps using subtraction, and you have to use it the same way you did the last question. So horizontal method of subtraction, we are going to open the brackets and let's see what we get. So when I open this one, 3 minus 4x minus 9x squared. Now mind you, we are not going to change any sign for this term because this is not the one which is getting subtracted. We are definitely going to change for the polynomial which is getting subtracted. So due to this negative sign, let's change the sign of the inside term. So negative 8x squared now becomes positive and this becomes negative. So let's do the same thing. We are now ready to combine the like terms. So minus 9x squared with 8x squared. Now because definitely we have to give our final answer in standard form, I'm going to combine and give as minus x squared. Now if you think how I got this, look here, minus 9 plus 8. Either you can do it without your calculator, it's a simple calculation, but if you're still confused, I would suggest you to use a calculator to avoid any calculation mistake. So let's combine this 3 with minus 7 and this gives me a minus 4. So this is going to be my final answer for this question. And let's check, is this in standard form? So we'll have a look at the powers. This is 2, this is 1, this is the number. So yes, it's correct. And that's how you show your steps using subtraction of two polynomials. Moving on, let's go to the next question. This is on factoring. Now it is quite clearly mentioned here that you have to use grouping, but even if it was not mentioned, your hint is that you will count the number of terms. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So the moment it is 4 terms or more, that's a cue for you to remember that grouping is the method that will give you your answer. So let's proceed and do the factors using grouping. Now we know that when we are trying to group, we are going to put them in the brackets and we are going to find any common factor that we get from the term. So let's look at the first bracket. This is 24 and 6. So you take the factor, the GCF for the number separate and the variable separate. So 24 and 6. Let's see how we get the GCF. So I can write my 24 as 6 multiplied by 4 and 6 is already 6 multiplied by 1. So if we try to look at the GCF or the common factor, greatest common factor, GCF I hope you remember is called as greatest common factor. It is also called HCF by the way. Okay, so let's take this 6 common. 24 and 6 gives you 6. And m cube and m square. One power is 3, one power is 2. So which one is the common one? Definitely the lowest power. Okay, so 6m square is taken out. And if I take this 6 out, I'm left with 4m minus 1. So this is how you factor the first bracket. Now, I'll give you a shortcut or a hint. We have to make sure that the two brackets are same. So if I put the same bracket again, tell me which number is going to come out in the second factor. So think in this manner. What should be multiplied with 4 to give you an 8? So yes, you're right. It's 6. Now we have the same bracket. 4m minus 1, 4m minus 1. Let's take it out and factor our question. Now, a point to ponder. Is this the final answer or I can do something more? Let's look at the second bracket. 6m square and 2. Do you have a common factor? Think. 6 and 2 both are even numbers. So I can take this 2 out and now give the final answer. So this is going to be 3m square plus 1. Yes. Now we have written the final answer, which is the factored form of the given question. And this completes your method of grouping. Moving forward, we will now do a very important question, which is from the last lesson 11.7, where I teach you how to do the factoring using special products. So tell me which special product identity is going to work for you. We have done 3 in the class. Yes, you're right. Difference of squares is going to work to solve this question. And how do you know that? Look at the numbers. This is x to the power 4 minus 16 that you're going to factor. Now think, is 16 a perfect square? If yes, we can apply this identity. Similarly, x4, how can I write it like a perfect square? I can replace x4 with x square whole square, and then 16 definitely is the perfect square of 4. So this is how I'm ready to apply my difference of square identity. The first term is x square, the second term is 4. So one is negative, one is positive. Now let me just remind you, even if you would have written the plus sign before and the negative next, it's still correct. This or this, both are okay. As we know, multiplication is commutative, so it won't change your answer. Again, is 4 also a perfect square? Yes, it is the square of 2, so I can apply the identity one more time. So if you remember, this question is from the topic where you have to factor more than once. That means I apply this identity, the special product, difference of squares, 2 times in the same question. So now we reach to the final answer. So one is negative, one is positive. And as we conclude the question, this is going to be the right option. Now, if you look at the option, this was an MCQ question. To confuse you, what they have done, they have changed the order of the terms, but don't you worry. Still, the answer is going to be same. So if I write this as the final answer, or if I change it to x squared plus 4 multiplied with x plus 2 multiplied with x minus 2, still the same answer. So definitely B is going to be the correct answer. Now to confuse you, if you see option A, C and D also look similar, so I would advise you to be very, very careful to avoid any mistake and not be confused while you choose the correct answer. Moving on for the next question, we have an expression given to us and we need to factor it. So if you look at the question carefully, let's first compare it with the standard form, ax squared plus bx plus c, and let's see what our a, b and c are. So this is a, this is my b, and this is my c. So a is 2, b is minus 6, and c is minus 80. Okay, so now we need to factor this. So we are going to use the method called as sum and product. And before we use this method, let's see what is my leading coefficient for this question. So here the leading coefficient is 2, which is not 1. So that means grouping is the method that's going to work for us while we try to solve this question. So let's try and find two numbers such that their sum is going to be the middle term, which is the value b, it's minus 6 here, and the product, when we multiply m with b, is going to be a multiplied with c, which is 2 multiplied with negative 80, so that's going to be minus 160. Okay, so now I want you to think how to factor this minus 160 so that the product is minus 160, however the sum is negative 6. Take your time, you may use your calculator. So let's see how we get this minus 160. So one way, if I want to just factor it and I want to have two numbers which when multiplied gives you minus 160 is minus 16 and 10. Also you have option of 8 and minus 20. So let's see which one is better. Apart from that, there are more options, definitely 2 with minus 80 and so on. There can be multiple factors, but mind you, we have to choose the one that works for us. in the sense that the sum is minus 6. So which one do you think? 1, 2, 3. Which option works? Yes, you're right. The first option is better because if we just check on our calculator, this you can just do like a rough thing. Take minus 16, add 10. Does it work? Yes, it gives you 6. Take minus 16, multiply with 10. It gives you what you want. So that means these are my correct options. So let's now break the middle term minus 16. We are going back to the same question and we are going to finish it now with grouping. So I break the middle term. This step is called middle term splitting, where you break the middle term, do your distributive, get the four terms, and then proceed to solve using grouping. So let's group them. I'm going to group these two together and these two together. Again, we are going to use the same method. We'll try to find the greatest common factor, factor them out, try to make the bracket same. So 2 and 16. 2 is common factor, x square and x1. X is the common factor. What's left? Let's see. X minus 8. Now we'll apply the trick to save our time. We'll make the bracket same. And then we think what should be multiplied to x to give you 10x. What should be multiplied to 8 to give you 80. So you're right, it's 10. And now if you see the two brackets are same. So I take them out, factor, and this is going to be my final answer. So we had to factor the expression. It was a quadratic expression, a quadratic trinomial to be very precise, and that's why we've got two factors as expected. So that completes the question, and that's how you get full marks if you show the steps properly. Moving on, let's do the last question for today, which is selected from the topic of FOIL method. This method is definitely used to multiply two binomials as you see in the question. So the first binomial is given to be 3p minus 9. The second is given to be 2p minus 6. Now, in this question, there are two parts. In part A, if you see very clearly, they want four things. So make sure that you do everything and that you solve it correctly so that you don't lose marks in any of the steps. Okay, so let's finish this up. This is the first term for the first binomial, first term for the second binomial. So 3p is going to be multiplied with 2p to give you 3 multiplied by 2, that's 6. P multiplied by p, that's p square. That's your product of the first two terms. Let's go to outer terms. Outer means outside. So I'm going to pick the outside term 3p and the outside term 6. So 3p with 6, when you multiply, is going to give you 18p. Moving on, let's go to the inner terms. Inner are inside terms, so it's going to be these two. So we're going to multiply minus 9 with 2p. That's going to give us minus 18p. Now, one point that you have to be very careful of is the sign. Usually you are bound to make sign mistakes. So while you choose your terms, be very careful that you don't miss out on the sign. If it is negative, take it negative. If it is positive, take it positive. And also while you do the multiplication, the addition, double check your calculations. If you're not sure, use a calculator. Okay, so for the last terms, we have minus 9 here and plus 6 here. So let's multiply. This is going to be giving you negative 54. So we have all the four terms. Now to give the final answer for the product written in standard form, we're going to add them all up. And if you see, the two terms have opposite sign. So I'm going to cancel it while I add. And we're just left with 6p square minus 54 here. So let's go to part B now and give the final product of these two binomials in the standard form. So that's going to be 6p square minus 54. Now I can do one more step here just to factor and make it more better. 6 and 54. I can write 54 as 9 multiplied by 6. In fact, that is how we got this 54. So if I take the 6 common, I'm left with p square minus 9. And then here, 9 being a perfect square, I can use the difference of square identity, replace 9 with 3 square. So my final answer would be p plus 3 and p minus 3. So this part of factorization which I did is something which is extra. It's optional, but even if you give me the answer till here correct and that it is in standard form, you'll get full marks on this question. So that's all for this session. I hope you understood and you were able to revise and review the important topics from Module 11. And that's all from my side. All the very best for your math exam.